tried slipping his hand under her skirts during the day, but she had screamed as if she were being attacked and left the room. At night, it's true, she submitted to his caresses, but apathetically, as if she were merely doing her duty. They had to stick to the stodgy old ancestral position. You know which one. Any attempt at more refined, more modern positions, she refused. If, for example, the young man suggested they try lighting the fire behind the mountain, she refused, absolutely. If he suggested, listen carefully, dipping the limp wick in warm tallow to make candles, I'm giving you time, to make an image, she said mouths were for eating and that was completely disgusting. Something had to be done to rid her of these ridiculous inhibitions which her father had given her and which were ruining their marriage and their chance of happiness together. And so he watched her. He observed her. He observed her for many weeks. And he noticed certain things. He noticed that she loved to take long baths. She loved to walk barefoot in the wet, dewy grass in the morning. Once he saw her picking a rose and plucking the petals one by one and softly rubbing them against her chin and neck as she was reading. That was another thing she loved to do. She loved to read. It was her favorite activity. And so he thought, maybe a little stimulating reading material would do the trick. And so he went from bookstore to bookstore until at last he found the perfect volume. It was a manual on the art of love. It contained 36 paintings of the 36 positions of love sung by the poets of the Tang Dynasty. He bought it at once, at great expense, and waited for the right moment. And one afternoon, as she was going into her chambers for her nap, he followed her and he gave her the book. She clapped her hands. A book, she said. She took it and read the title. The Vernal Palace. Portraits of the Imperial Court of the Tang Dynasty, 2nd century BC. Impressed by the weight and volume of the manual, she sat down on the bed and opened it to the first page. And there, to her horror, she saw a painting of a young woman sitting stark naked in broad daylight on a rock, while a young man on his knees in front of her seemed to be searching for something which he had lost in between her legs. Horrified, she closed the book and said, "You are defiling my bedchamber with this book. Take it away." But he said, "Wait, wait, sweetheart. A great painter painted that painting. A great poet wrote the commentary. Look, the editor. It's the great secretary Lao Tse himself. It can't be bad. Oh, come on. Just have a look at it with me." Well, she had to admit his arguments were convincing. And she was particularly interested in the Tang Dynasty and was always seeking to inform herself more. So she allowed him to take her onto his lap. And together, they opened the book and looked at the first page.